I've decided to title my project Violence Endurance on the ethnographic salience of Colombia's Gótico tropical. In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, I was unable to go to Colombia to conduct my research. I was then challenged to frame a new project. Dr. Kernighan encouraged me to ask, how might I move close to Colombia without going there? I decided then to look to literature, film, and photography to do just that. I became especially interested in a group of avant-garde artists who lived in Cali in the 70s and 80s. They were called the Cali Group and worked in a genre called the Tropical Gothic. This genre features vampires and other monsters as figures that pose a critique related to Colombia's history of political violence. Central in my work with Richard and in my undergraduate training in anthropology has been a concern with ethnographic composition, especially related to violent events. I found myself asking how the monsters of this genre express a sense of political violence that goes beyond what an empirically grounded project that works in a register of representation might achieve. I then read Andres Caicedo's novel, a writer who was part of the Cali Group. This novel is about a character named Maria, who leaves the bourgeois world of her parents to embrace a life of salsa, dancing, drugs, sex. The plot unfolds in the wake of La Violencia, and in the period during which global capitalism was encroaching in Cali most forcefully. The novel expresses a generational ennui in the face of these dual currents of violence, and there we find Maria dancing with an immediacy that goes beyond any other dancing. Her friends go to mental hospitals, commit suicide. Maria finds murdered bodies around the city. She continues dancing with her head thrown back. I studied then the work of filmmaker Carlos Mayolo, who was part of the Cali Group too. His film, titled Carne de tu Carne, is about an elite family who escapes to their rural hacienda following an explosion in downtown Cali that happened in 1956. The half-siblings, who were the youngest generation of this family, escape from the hacienda to their uncle's farm in the mountains, and there commit incest. They become vampires and wreak havoc through the countryside. As a third work, I studied the photographic project titled Where the Air Feels Heavy, Boredom and Textures of the Aftermath, by a Colombian photographer and ethnographer named Juan Orrantia. Orrantia is influenced by surrealism as an aesthetic practice, and also works under the same influences as this previous Tropical Gothic group, even though he was closer to the 2000s, whereas the group worked in the 70s and 80s. So I've decided to group him as part of this Tropical Gothic aesthetic and genre in order to bring the artists together. So Orrantia's project consists of black and white photographs taken in a swamp town in northeastern Colombia, where a massacre happened in the year 2000. Orrantia is interested to trace the enduring effects of this massacre and intimates that memories of violence become lodged in the landscape and in place, can flash into visibility or register effectively at any moment when a fisherman or a family who lost loved ones, a father, a brother, a mother, a daughter, are moving about their everyday activities. In the thesis, I looked at the novel, film, and photographs to ask how the effects of violent events endure in space and time. If this enduring force might have the capacity to act and animate, and then to ask what strategies might an ethnographer employ to sense these effects and in turn write about them. In conclusion, I argue that the three works of art have salience for ethnographic composition and to guide ethnographic attention in the realm of everyday life. Regarding ethnographic attention, I argue that each work unfolds how a force of violence born in the past might continue to have animation in the present and affect everyday experiences as simple as dancing or forming a relationship with someone, or heightened moments of affect and memory that crop up in areas of experience ostensibly removed from violence. Regarding composition, I argue that ethnography might depart from a realm of representation and look to express experiences and effects of violence, specifically because such experiences and effects oftentimes remain unspeakable or unintelligible for those who actually live them. When one is at a loss for words, for example, one can't put into language what happened. As a final point, I argue that each work of art itself is produced through the same violent history that is expressed in its content, and this because the artists themselves are sedimented in the same violent world in which they sediment their characters.